Hello, and welcome to Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, where saving marriages, saving families, and saving souls is the flavor of the day. Now, let's join our host and author of Marriage Unchained, Catholic Alpha Radical, Jerry Jacobs Jr.
Welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, where I help you fix your Catholic marriage. I've coached and helped hundreds of men in their marriages, and now I want to help you. Call 313-RADICAL now. That's area code 313-RADICAL, and ask me anything on tough marital issues, such as what to do when she's asked for divorce, what to do when you have a mutual agreement of separation but you didn't want it, what to do when your wife is cold and distant, what to do when your wife is having an affair, what to do when your marriage is bad, boring, lukewarm, and passionless, what to do when you engage in a marital embrace less than once a month, what to do when you sleep in separate bedrooms, what to do when she has left the home with or without the children, what to do when you're divorced but didn't want it. Call 313-RADICAL. That's area code 313-723-4225. That's area code 313-723-4225. Again, call 313-RADICAL right now for answers to intimacy problems, communication problems, prayer and spiritual warfare problems, authentic masculinity problems, aka how to man up. So sit back, relax, take a chill pill, and get ready to rock. But don't duck. Can you feel it? Catholic Alpha Radical coming at you now. Hello and welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, the Catholic Relationship Podcast that helps you fix your Catholic marriage while also helping men. Well, I am tripping today, y'all. While also giving winning tactics for marriage problems, girlfriend problems, and intimacy problems for men. Moreover, where my main mission is to keep you out of divorce court, and where divorce combat coaching, Marriage Unchained is the flesh, is the art of today. While also helping men understand marriage and courting, not dating in the Catholic faith. Why? Because dating is for sex, and as I always say, courting is for marriage. In this 96th episode, dumb myths about homeschooling, plus live calls from you answering your marriage and crisis questions. Get your Catholic marriage questions answered by calling 313-RADICAL. That's 313-723-4225, or calling using your browser at callingstudio.com/radical1. Don't wait. Get in the queue for some resolution to your marriage confusion.
Hello.
All right. Quote of the day. So let's do this. Quote, because of oneness with the beloved, this sacrificial love reached its highest psychological expression in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Christ so identified himself with sinners that he began to sweat crimson blood, drops of blood. It reached its greatest physical expression on Calvary when he offered his life for those whom he loved. But before Gethsemane and Calvary, the law that love tends to unify the lovers produced the incarnation in which God, who loved man, became man to save him from his sins. End quote. Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, book 3 to Get Married. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me to help you in yours. Get live Catholic marriage help Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some resolution to your marriage confusion. Okay, we are back. And I want to get quickly into today's subject. Look, now I know that a lot of you might not think that this subject is important until your kids act a fool and you can't control them. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, how can I stop this and say this? Oh Lord, my kids have lost their minds. But today, the subject is homeschooling and the problem that happens with this and why people don't want to do it and the myths that people talk about that really gets under my craw because they just don't really understand. You know, the way I came to homeschooling was I didn't really want to do it because I thought like everybody else that, oh, how are my kids gonna make friends? How are they gonna learn how to deal in the real world? How are they gonna learn how to deal with other kids? And how are they gonna, that's gonna mess up their learning for school and they're not gonna know nothing and blah, blah, blah. See, I was completely confused. The thing about it is that's the propaganda that the school systems want you to know. The teachers' unions, the administrators, everybody that goes to school. I mean, think about it. People that go to colleges, they go to universities for millions and billions of dollars a year to learn how to what? Be teachers. So of course they're going to say homeschooling is crap. You know why? Of course. How can you expect to educate your child? You don't even have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. How can you do this? And to me, it's just all a propaganda to make people think that they can't do what of course they can do. If you grew up and you went through regular high school, you went through elementary school and grade school, you can homeschool. Especially, and really, you don't even need a degree or nothing. People homeschool their kids for centuries before the so-called United States came into being. And then after the United States came into being for a couple hundred years, people homeschooled their kids. Why? Because there was no unified school system. There was no schoolhouses or nothing for kids to go to. So people had to homeschool their kids. Now, some people didn't worry about teaching their kids to read, stuff like that, but a lot of people did. But guess what? We made it through it. We have very intelligent people. We had very intelligent people back then. We have very intelligent people now that can homeschool their kids and do what they need to do. The problem is, just like every other thing in this country, the powers that be want to keep everybody stupid. How can they manipulate you and get you to do Satan's work? How can they manipulate you and get you to do Satan's work when you are at home with your mother and father and learning the faith and learning the Catholic faith and loving God and learning about scripture, learning about, math and only doing the things that you need to learn to be a kid? Like what? Just simple math and simple economics and simple history and simple theology about the faith, and then you're being around your parents all the time and stuff like that. You get mature and things like that. They don't want that. They want you in front of them in the universities, in high schools and all that stuff so that they can do with your kid the way you want and make all these rules. Like, look now, they can teach your kid about anything they want, including sex, and you don't have no say about it no more. Used to be you could opt out of it, but see, that was the cigarette syndrome, right? What's the cigarette syndrome? The cigarette syndrome is, well, you can smoke anywhere you want. All of a sudden now you can't smoke in government buildings. Now also you can't smoke inside restaurants. Now you can't smoke outside 50 feet close to a building. Now you got to be 100 feet away from a building. Pretty soon you can't smoke in your own home. And that's how they do you. They slowly but surely wean you away to get you to do what their bidding they want you to do, and that is the reason why homeschooling is so popular. It's becoming so popular because these the people, the universities and schools are teaching things that God-fearing, Jesus Christ loving, blessed mother trying to be like people and saints and Christians want to teach. They're teaching things that those kind of people do not want their kids around, and it's terrible. It's terrible. And the thing about it, that's why I want to do this today, because I wanted people to understand that the stuff that we talk about is about helping your marriage. Marriage is just like God is in every fiber of the universe. And if we stick our head in the sand and we don't understand that and we don't show that and know that, then what'll happen is they can pull whatever they want to over our eyes. And so that's why at this podcast, we try, I don't attack anybody. I don't do things like that, but I do bring bring to light certain things that Satan is doing, the evil one is doing, supernatural world is doing to hurt the family. And homeschooling and putting your kids in school with 30 or 40 kids every day that teach them about all kind of stuff that has nothing to do with school. Think about it. Your kid is gone 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and they only do what? Maybe 4 hours complete of actual school. That's why homeschooling is the bomb. You only teach your kid when you got a kindergartner or elementary school kid, you only teach them like 30 minutes a day, an hour at the most, and the whole day is done. You go out and do all kind of stuff. But me and our guests are going to talk about that and stuff. Other things is why is homeschooling important to your marriage? How can homeschooling change the dynamics of your family? Believe it or not, homeschooling can change the dynamics of your family. You're not fighting your kid all the time. You're not trying to reprogram your kid every day when they come home from Satan's high school. Can kids still rebel against you as parents, even if they are homeschooled? We're going to go into that. Will homeschooling prevent your kids from knowing how to deal with the so-called real world? Can your kids survive in the real world? After homeschooling, how can your kids make friends if they're homeschooled? How long should you homeschool? Which is a good one. That's a really good one. And how does homeschool save the innocence of your child? That's another thing. We throw our kids out there, like I talked about yesterday. We throw our darn kids out there in hell's fury, and then we expect them to just survive out here on their own in society. We don't teach them how to pray. We don't teach them how to do nothing in the supernatural world, barely even how to get a job. We send them out there, and then they get out there, and they don't know how to deal with stuff. That is very, very messed up. How does homeschooling help the maturity of your kid? Will and can homeschooling hurt your kid's academic progression? That's another good one we're going to talk about. And where do you find homeschooling co-ops? Where do you get homeschooling materials? How does homeschooling build closeness, love, and respect from your children? And how does homeschooling help with the Catholic faith? These are just certain things we're going to go on today. We're only, and I really want you guys to really understand, man, that as a father, it's very important that you don't stick your head in the sand on this subject. If you got kids at home, especially if they're 13 and below, you really need to hear what we're trying to say on this, because if you don't, you're going to look up and your kid's going to be drug addicts, or they're going to be in jail. They're going to be, having sex with kids all over the place at school. They're going to be cussing you out at home. They're going to be disrespecting you at home. You're going to deprogram them every day to do what you want them to do instead of doing what the teachers and the school and the other kids want them to do. They're going to combat you at every turn. How many of us have that? Your kid combats you at every turn. Every time you ask them to do something, they get an attitude about it. Every time you ask them to do something for you, or to do their chores, or to take care of their business at home, what do? They give you back talk and all that kind of stuff. They don't learn that from you. That's another thing. Your kids, when they're at these schools outside of being homeschooled, they don't learn that stuff from you. You wonder, how does my kid go to school? My beautiful kindergartner, he goes to school. He goes to school, and then he comes home, and I don't even know him anymore. He just talks back to me and calls me names and doesn't respect me anymore. The reason why, because your little sweet kid goes to daycare or goes to a kindergarten class or elementary school, and he learns all the disrespectful stuff from the other kids. And the teachers allow it. You know why? Because they want to keep that money flowing in. They don't piss nobody off. They don't want to get fired. You know, it used to be schools would at least help you discipline your child. Now, they don't care. They're too scared they're going to get sued for putting a paddle on somebody's butt, which is what a lot of these kids need. You know, so then your child comes home and you didn't teach them that. You did not teach your kid to be disrespectful to you or to authority. Of course you didn't. But guess what? When they go to school and they see all the stuff, the other kids get away with, they go, I can do that too. Man, this is a whole psychological psyche on your child. We just don't even realize it. And then we get the ones that go, well, I can't teach my kid nothing. Well, if you can't spend a half an hour a day with your kid, then that means, do you really love your child? Of course you don't. To teach your kid instead of sending them over. This is why women are the nurturers, and they are the ones that are supposed to spend that time and make sure those kids are educated properly and to help them through this. Okay? Even if your wife is working, 4 hours a day, she can still homeschool the kids. She really can. She really can. Your wife is working 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 3, whatever she's doing. That's enough time to homeschool a kindergarten or elementary and a grade school kid. It really is, man. It really is. A couple of hours a day once they get in grade school, me and my wife's gonna talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff. But with that being said, I did my little radical rant for the day because I am really passionate about this because it wasn't for my wife. She's the one that got me to homeschool our kids because I thought exactly like a lot of you think. Man, my kid's going to be all screwed up. He's not going to know how to socialize. And think about it. Do you want your kid to socialize with gang members? Do you want your kid to speak to other little kids and teach them about sex and all of that stuff? That's where I learned about sex. I'm not going to lie. I learned about sex as a 6-year-old in kindergarten. That's how I learned about sex, if you can even call it sex. And your kids learn the same thing. Don't think they ain't. Don't think they ain't. One thing that I will say about my wife, man, she would throw sex in my kids' face all the time. She'd tell them, look, don't be having sex with these girls out here, boy. Don't be doing all that kind of crazy stuff. Because that stuff kids don't die. They don't go away. They stay with you for the rest of your life. They really do. They really do. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back. And I hope that you stay around so that you can hear this interesting conversation between me and my beloved about the homeschooling myths and the dumb other stuff people think about homeschooling. Bam. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. Well, we are back, and I hope that you are still here. Me and the wife are trying to hear each other as usual. I only have problems when me and her are trying to do an interview together. So I'm going to ask again. So Today, I am going to introduce my beloved wife, and I want you guys, if you have any questions about homeschooling, about anything that you think that will help your marriage or your family structure, um, and the good thing is, if you do that, what will happen is, I can help you. My wife can help you because there's a lot. It's in depth, but it's not really that complicated. It's really not. But if you try to do all this, all if you try to do all the research on your own and don't really have a specific way to do things, then what'll happen is you'll get confused and think, "Oh my God, this is so hard," but it's really not. And so it looks like that we are having problems again with trying to work together. So guess what? Me and her are going to be on the same camera again this week. I'm so sorry, y'all. You know, doing the shows live is not as all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's exciting and fun, but what happens is sometimes you can get technical problems and you can't fix it on the fly. You try to, but sometimes you can't. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sit together and we're going to try to have a good little time. And so hopefully my wife will be able to talk with me together. Now, again, if you have any questions, call, and we will definitely answer and try to help you because there's a lot of questions that we can answer. And if we can't answer it, then we'll figure it out. Okay, so with that being said, let's bring on my beloved wife, and we're going to sit next to each other. And I hope you see her because the camera just loves her so much. Even when she just wakes up, I don't know how that happens, but it doesn't happen to me.
Whatever it is.
So, babe, let me see. I got to have it like this, and let me scoot over. Okay, so, yeah. So the problem is the microphone is set up a certain kind of way, and I have to set it up. So let me see, where is it at? Anyway, of course the thing is not here. So we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to put the microphone in between us like that. So I hope y'all can hear us. That way you can hear her. She has a very clear voice, and I don't. You know, I do a lot of mumbling. As y'all know, I talk really fast. So that being said, let's get started. Oh, now the microphone's covering up her face. Man, this is not. And of course, she's not going to help me because that's just how my wife is.
I don't know how to help.
I know.
So
let's try like that.
I don't know how. So I just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
I let the experts do what they do.
I am not an expert, that's for sure. That's as close as you can get? Let me move over a little
I can
bit.
sit in your lap.
I don't think the fans, I don't like to think the people would like that one.
Oh, they might like little, you know.
Can you get in a little closer? There we go. Okay, put the microphone right there. Okay, and now if you can't hear her or you can't hear me that well, we'll try to talk louder. But so today, babe, you know, of course, my wife, just a little background. My wife homeschooled my two youngest boys, Jericho and Solomon, for...
Our two youngest boys, not just yours.
What'd I say?
My two youngest boys.
I said our two youngest boys. I didn't? Okay. Well, okay.
I have to harass him because y'all don't know what it's like before the show starts.
Okay. So what we're gonna say is she homeschooled our two sons, and so what happens is they I think it was up to they were like 13, so all the way from, you know, preschool all the way up to 13 years old. So right before the freshman in high school. So that is the bomb. Okay. And we had our roles. Like I did certain things and she did certain things. But because, well, she laughed because she tries to say he ain't do nothing. I did do something. We'll talk about that in a minute.
You did do stuff. I'm not laughing at that. I'm not laughing at that.
So what I'm going to say is...
I'm laughing at my role.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is That's basically 14 years, 13 to 14 years of us homeschooling. And think about that. Think about what I just said. Our boys were around us for 13 years. They they learned as we were adults. They learned about us as mother and father. They learned about the faith. They learned about math and reading. And my wife taught my kids how to read, how to do math, and all of that stuff. And it doesn't take, like I said, I was saying in the thing, it doesn't take a whole big genius and stuff. You just gotta have the will to want to do it. And that's the main thing. Like me, and so for 13 years, our sons were formed by who? By the Holy Spirit and their parents. So when they went to school and they started going to high school at Bishop Chatard, they were the ones influencing. They weren't the ones being influenced. Now, sure, of course, it was a little bit because it's exciting and stuff, and of course, but for the most part, the kids they were already formed. So when they walked into the school, it was hard for them to break 13 years of being around their parents, and that's what I'm trying to tell you is that if you allow either your kids are going to get formed by 13 years, your kids are going to get formed by other kids and other teachers and all that kind of stuff, or they're going to get formed by you. Now, which one would you want? 13 years, it's hard to break that. What do you think, babe?
I think, yeah. The boys had a good foundation. I think they had a solid foundation. I am not a perfect mom by any means, but we did the best we could. And, I think now they're out of high school and not going to college. I think we can see the fruits of our labor for the first 13 years, 14 years, really, 14 years of their lives. And that continues till today. Even after they went to school, they were accustomed to talking to me every day. They were accustomed to having discussions with me every day. So that's what we did. I pick them up from school. They tell me about their day. They tell me all these weird details. And even now, as they are men, 19 and 20, they still talk to me. I mean, I don't agree with all the things that they're saying and all that, but I think that we have a much closer bond with our youngest two children than we did with our first three kids.
Yeah, because the first three, they get mad because they think that Jericho and Solomon got more privileges, but that's not true. Matter of fact, I think Jericho and Solomon really did more because they were home all the time and they had a lot more chores. They had stuff to do all the time. They were always doing something, And the other kid, they always say, "Oh, it's not fair. Y'all let them get away with murder," and that's not true. It wasn't. We treated them. They got in trouble just like. But see,
they're not as much trouble because they weren't in school.
Exactly. They weren't in school getting in trouble all the dang on time. That's what y'all got to realize.
They were here with us.
If you homeschool your kids, guess what you're not doing? You're not running up to the school every day, keeping your kids out of trouble and all that kind of stuff. You're not going talking to teachers and getting all that kind of stuff. What are you doing? You are at work or doing your business, what you're supposed to be doing. And your kids are at home doing their work or doing their chores or at practice or outside playing, or they're outside doing their sporting events, trying to practice and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much to go into.
Yeah.
So, the simple stuff is like, why we're like, one of the questions that people how do you start homeschooling?
Well, homeschooling is not that complicated. We make it complicated. And I think as women, especially, we have this thing of perfection and this has to be this and that. That's not so true. I mean, if you reflect upon your life and the jobs that you've had, you'll see what kind of things you really needed to know and things you don't need to know. But having a community I think is vital. Being in homeschooling co-ops, whatever faith you're in, I'm Catholic, so Catholic homeschooling co-ops were essential.
Mm-hmm.
And you can catechize your kids. You can teach them about the faith, which is number one, teaching your children the faith, teaching your children about Jesus and the gospel. That is the most important thing. It's more important than math. English. It is the most important thing. So, starting off, I would suggest getting into Facebook groups or Instagram groups that um, in your faith, um, in your faith, and talking to more women and moms about, how to get started. There are lots of programs on the internet, and you don't even really need the internet. There's something called the Robinson Homeschooling Program, and he just has sheets of paper, and you go to the library and you take out those books, and you just go from there. Math is not my strong suit, so it's probably not my boy's strong suit. But anyway, there's the Saxton, I think it's called Saxton math program.
Mm-hmm.
And, math is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. That's all math is, really. So, I would just get started as soon as you're pregnant. Get started on researching and figuring out what's good for you, what you can work with, and how to form your kid. Because, really, I mean, you're homeschooling, you don't even know you're homeschooling. You're already homeschooling. Even if your kid goes to public school, you are homeschooling. The kids are watching you. They're listening to you. You are homeschooling no matter what. So you just might as well just break down, get some books, and get started.
Yeah, and that's a good point that, like, when you get pregnant as a mom, or your dad, your father and your wife gets pregnant, go ahead and start getting everything set up. Now, and you'll see, man, like, teaching, my wife taught the kids how to read. I mean, it was amazing. And she had this book, is 100 lessons to teach your kid how to read.
Yeah.
Because I taught my kids, believe it or not, I taught my kids how to read. Max and Marcus, I taught them how to read. And what I did was, before they even started school, they were like preschoolers, or even, I don't know, 4 years old or something. I forget what it was. Man, I used Hooked on Phonics. And I'm telling you, it worked. I mean, I couldn't believe it. This kid was reading like it wasn't nothing. My son Max could say the alphabet backwards, dude. And we were all amazed. But
so you were a homeschooler before you were a homeschooler.
Right. I didn't even know about, right. And it never, even when you were trying to convince me and we were talking about me doing it, I didn't even realize that never even popped in my mind that I taught them how to read and stuff. And then when you started teaching Jericho and Solomon how to read with that other book, I was like, this is amazing. This is pretty cool. And then they knew how to read. It wasn't even that hard for them. And for her, it seemed like it wasn't. Because my role was the extracurricular dude. So, I had to work and stuff, but I was the football coach, and took to the sports, and I took him and made sure all that was going and stuff. My wife still helped me. She did most of the work with the homeschool and all that stuff, the teaching part. But I was, and she even took him to the co-op, and they went to, like, with all the other kids and got together. And that's where people try to say, well, how are your kids gonna make friends? I'm telling you, man, there are people, your kids will make friends when you start getting them in sports, when you start going to church, when you start going to all these other, like, homeschooling co-ops. I don't want to call them co-ops. That sounds kind of cultish.
But that's what they were.
They are, okay. And so when they start doing that, then they go into church and confession and doing all this stuff. They come across all kind of kids and stuff. And that their parents doing the same thing. And they're better kids. You know why? I'm not saying better kids means physically. I mean, they're better kids as far as morally. So you're around parents that are trying to do what you're trying to do with your kids. And you can't get no better than that. That you're actually, think about it. When you send your kid to a public school, and when I say public school, I don't care if it's a private school, if it's a township school, or an actual inner city school, or whatever, you really don't know. You're sending your kid there, but you really don't know what you're getting. Their parents have different agendas than you and all that kind of stuff. But when you homeschool your kid, all of y'all, if they're Christian, even if they're atheist or Christian or Catholic or whatever, you kind of still all have the same goal. Like, you kind of know where everybody stands. What you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You kind of have an idea that they have the same ideals as you, and trying to get your kids in the same place. But also, I was not, a fancy stay-at-home mom. I guess stay-at-home moms are not fancy, But anyway, we worked full time, both of us. We had a cleaning service. I went on my appointments. We worked. So you can work and homeschool your kids because we did it.
And because, well, we had a business, so we could, we just took our kids with us. And guess what that did? Man, when you take your kids with you, they learn so much. They learn about the real world real quick. Because we had a janitorial service, and so we would take our kids with us. And then as all four, I don't know, at least four of our kids, as they grew up, they would go with us, and they would learn how to do trash and how to clean bathrooms and how to vacuum, all that kind of stuff. And so the older they got, the better they got, and they learned all this stuff. They learned how to make money and stuff. And so all of our kids have this knack for this entrepreneurship kind of thing. That's another thing too. 1 year kid. That's why our kids really don't want to go to college. The reason why, because they're entrepreneurs. They have the entrepreneur set. Like I've been an entrepreneur since I was went to the military. Basically, when I was in the military, I'm an entrepreneur, and my father turned me into one. I turned my wife into one, and I turned my kids into one. My daughter went to college and got her accounting degree. My son Max went to IU for 3 years, did his thing. But the other three, they were around us a lot. And they are very entrepreneuristic kind of kids. They're always trying to figure out how to make money. And my son, even Jericho, tried to go to Ball State. Well, he searched all over Indiana because I was in the military. So, and if you're in the military, your kids get to go. They go to college for free, a state college for free. So
if you're in a war.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Jericho went and tried to find an entrepreneurship to teach you about entrepreneurship, at these colleges, and all of them a week. Their idea of entrepreneurship is to put you through some marketing courses and put you through some, well, we're gonna do these projects and stuff like that. That's not entrepreneurship. They didn't really have no, they trying to act like how great it is and stuff, but it really wasn't. So he just decided, and he already learned, and both my kids, both of them, all three of them have learned so much from me and their mother that they really don't really need an education in it. But they just figure, listen, I can just go out like a lot of kids do. Like college ain't for university's not for everybody. People try to push people into colleges and they don't want to go, and then they go and waste your money, and then they all this money. Whereas if somebody the only way really to go to college that we figured out is if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, you want to be a brain surgeon, you want to be an engineer, of course you got to go to college for that. But if you're going to be a teacher, or you're going to be a social worker, or you're going to be really anything else in the school system, and you really don't want to do that, you could be an entrepreneur and learn how to be in business for yourself. There's people that start home businesses all the time. You're an entrepreneur, and so what happens is when you have children and then they're around you all the time, they learn that stuff instinctually. What do you think?
They pick it up. Well, it's the only thing they're around. So
Yep.
They pick it up. They go on marketing meetings with me and things like that. So,
and that comes with Catholics, especially Catholics. Like what we do is we take our kids. It was natural for us because Catholics, used to be, but mainly not so much. But most Catholics take their kids everywhere anyway. Like wherever we go, our kids would go, and our kids enjoy being around us. We enjoy being around them, and they knew how to act. That's another thing too. When your kids around you all the time, they instinctively know how to act at restaurants, in church. They instinctively know how to act in when you go over friends' houses, when you go out to the wherever you go, your kids learn how to act.
I used to get compliments all the time on the kids' behavior. Oh, your boys are so good. Your boys are so good. And I developed a response to that. It is really easy when you don't have a choice.
That's right.
Our kids had no choice but to be good.
That's right. Because listen, I learned a long time ago that, man, if you don't discipline your kids, man, that is a way to nowhere.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
That's a where to nowhere. And if you don't do it, if you don't discipline your child, you will regret it. You will. They will do all kind of crazy stuff. Now, but one of the things is talk about the innocence of that. Like, how does homeschooling save the innocence of your child?
Well, it depends on the parent for sure. I mean, if you're in the world and you're into all this crazy stuff, your kid will be into it. But we were not. We really, well, I'm the TV police. I didn't let my kids just watch anything because it said PG-13 and all this other crazy jazz. But homeschooling your kids, not letting them on the internet, not, letting them into all kinds of stuff, it protects their innocence a lot. Now, children are not perfect. I know they're not because I'm not. But, being able to, well, the libraries, I thought that I could drop my kids off. We were involved in a few library programs, and I thought I could drop my kids off at the library and I could, go grocery shopping and stuff. No, no, no. The library is a very dangerous place, which I was shocked to see even 15 years ago. I would They would have books on sexuality just out there sitting on the stand, publicizing itself, and I would take the book and I would just put it in the bookshelf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to protect your child's innocence. But as the Blessed Mother said, I think it was Our Lady La Salette that said the innocence of children would disappear. And it's happened. But
Talk louder. Baby, you gotta talk louder. You really do. Please.
okay,
There you go.
I can do it.
And so another thing too is homeschooling is about lowering the standard, lowering the failure, well, how can I say this? What we're trying to do is lower the chance of something bad happening to our kid, of them encountering stuff that they shouldn't, and your kid's going to encounter all kind of stuff no matter what environment they're in, but being in a position to correct it, like do like in my marriage program. What I do is I tell the men is I give you the best odds, the best chance of restoring your marriage, right? And so that's kind of how it is with the homeschooling thing. Is you're giving your child the best chance to succeed academically and morally, and spiritually, without all this other extra interference and stuff.
I remember one day I was really concerned because our kids, they played outside all the time because, well, that's just what kids naturally do. We don't let them play on the internet and games all the time. So they will always go outside. And I remember thinking to myself, about the influence of the other kids on my kids. And I stepped outside, and my son Jericho was teaching the neighborhood kids how to pray the Our Father. And that's when it clicked. Okay, our kids are influencing other kids. Your kids become leaders because, especially, they're in a unique position. They're not going to school. They're home with you, but they do go out. And that was just profound.
Another thing too, homeschool kids are so confident. Like boys carry themselves like men, girls carry themselves like ladies. It's weird. It's weird. Think about all the wuss little boys from 3 years old up to 17 years old, how wussy they are. They have no confidence, they're miserable. Think about that. When you see a homeschool kid, he's not like that. A homeschool young boy, he's not like that. He's confident. He has some confidence about himself. His father's confident, and that's just the way it is. And that's what you want in your child. People talk about self-esteem. People talking about, all this kind of things about that. But I'm telling you, when you homeschool your kid, man, they automatically become confident. And because a lot of things they do that you're going to do with them as a parent, you're going to give them confidence. They're going to do sports. They're going to be they're going to learn math and science. Like a lot of our friends, they homeschooled their kids. They was way better at it than we were. Their kids is like, woo, high intelligent.
They're doctors.
Right, doctor. One of our friends, everybody in their family's a doctor.
Yeah.
But my point of what I'm saying is, like I was saying, my kids want to be entrepreneurs. His kids want to be doctors. I mean, but just think of that level right there. Just think of that level right there.
Mm-hmm.
That okay, send your kid to IPS, Indianapolis Public Schools, see what they want to be. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football player. I want to be a hockey player. I want to play golf. I want to be a YouTube star. Dude, no. When you homeschool your child, basically they start getting to the real world and see how the real world works. And so they learn how to, what do you call it? Critical thinking. Critical thinking. In universities and in high schools and grade schools, they do not teach your kids how to critical think. You know why? Because if they teach your kids how to critically think, then they can't manipulate them and fool them into thinking they have all these crazy liberal ideas that have nothing to do with the real world.
Well, also homeschooling, you can explore your talents. And, homeschooling, it doesn't take 8 hours a day to teach a child anything. It really doesn't. And so you have time and you can explore your interests. Even if you don't have any interests, you can explore. And so I think the kids, our youngest two kids to me are a lot more mature, and they're more mature, they're more confident, they have a better relationship with us than our other kids who went away every day for 10 hours being influenced by the world. Our kids were influenced by us. They're not perfect children, of course, and they are influenced by the culture, but they have a more mature, self-confident,
and look out on the world.
Yeah, they really do, and they look out for each other. They're very close. They're 14 months apart, but they laugh at me because I used to tell them all the time, friends are overrated. Your best friend is sitting right next to you. That's your friend. I don't care what the world says. That's your friend. And they go, oh, Mom, friends are over. When I talk about my friends, friends are overrated. Well, yeah, because my husband's my best friend. He's the one I want to be around the most. He's the most fun person I know. And my kids, our children are the people we want to be around. We have Sunday dinner every Sunday. Our kids seem to not mind. And we love being around them.
And that's the travesty when a family only has one child. That child grows up by themselves, or they have two kids, and they have two kids, but the kids are 3 and 4 years apart. That is not. Like Jericho and Solomon were like 14 months apart. And so what we've done with all our children, we've tried to make them grow up together, and so that they know that they can count on each other and stuff. Like, you ain't got your best friend is your brother. Your best friend is your sister, your best friend. Because if you don't culture them like that, they're going to go out and try to act like the first friend they meet, that friend is more important than their family. And that's you kid, because we had one crazy one like that. Everybody has a crazy one like that they go out in the world, and then all of a sudden, then everybody they meet is more important than their family. Everybody they meet knows more than your dad and your mama. And we would tell our kids, listen, you ain't smarter than me. You definitely ain't smarter than your mama. So, and I'm telling you what, these kids are going, I said, your so-called friends that go out and dog at their parents until they tell them about their parents are stupid, their parents don't know nothing, their parents, all of that. I said, don't come home telling me that stuff, because you ain't smarter than me and they ain't smarter than me. That's how you got to be, man. So you got to be confident about when you teaching your kids, man. The reason why is because these little brats out here are going to teach your kids how to disrespect you. And when that stuff comes home, you got to nip that in the bud right now. You can't be just like, oh, little Johnny, don't say that about your mother. Man, are you out of your mind? Dude, you say that about your mom again, see what happened to you.
I have a granddaughter that says, don't judge. I said, girl, you better judge. How are you going to know who's a good person or not? How are you going to know who to be around or not? Half our grandkids are in school. Half our grandkids are being homeschooled. And my homeschooling grandbaby, I pray that changes. But she's got this judgment thing. And she's only 5. She's only 5.
Well, because she was before her mother married our son, she was not homeschooled.
No, before her mother, I'm talking about Taylor.
Oh, I thought you was talking about Winter.
No, I'm talking about my Nader baby.
Oh, yeah.
She goes, don't judge. You better judge, and you better start judging now.
That's right. You better judge that fool's actions. If that fool come hit you upside your head, you gonna say, don't judge. I'm gonna say, don't judge. Somebody hit me in my head, and I go, don't judge. I ain't gonna judge you, man. Just keep hitting me upside my head, man. I ain't gonna judge you.
Well, you know, that's a funny story because that happened to her. Some kid who's in her class always has to be with an adult. I don't know what it's about. I don't understand why an adult has to be with this kid all through school. Well, one day the adult wasn't there and smacked her.
Oh.
So I will bring that up and ask her, is she judging him now? Because, yeah, he hit her in the mouth.
And another thing too, man, like we learned real quick about Jericho and Solomon. Like when we would take, cause we coached, like I coached, you know, I took the boys cause I want the boys to be good. So I didn't take them to these, you know, these outer city football places. Because most of them, they don't even have the right rules and stuff. So I took the boys to Tab, and that's where we played all the different football leagues in the city and stuff, and even in the outer, you know. But Tab was where the most competition was, right? And so, you know, these are inner city kids when they inner city moms and dads, and they tough, you know, they don't play, you know. And
they're tough.
And then you have parents, other parents that come from the suburbs that are tough too, because they expect certain things, right? You know, and so Jericho and Solomon, the first, it was weird. The first, and I became head coach, so I was the head coach, but I didn't really influence this. The first day we went out practicing, Jericho and Solomon are 6 and 7 years old, 8 years old, and I wasn't the coach then. They was influencing everybody. These are 7 and 8 year old kids, homeschool kids, leading other 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids and stuff. You wouldn't believe it. That's what I'm saying, man. Homeschooling gives your kid at an early age so much confidence. They learn how to make friends. They learn how to get along with other people. They just learn people like them. People like them. Like even now, our sons, especially our son Solomon, people are just drawn to him like they are to his mother. Like everybody's drawn to my wife. That's just how she is. But my son Solomon's the same way. People are just drawn to him. And Jericho is more like me, but people are still drawn to him. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody drawn to me, y'all. Ain't nobody drawn to me. But they drawn to them too. And my wife, that's just how they are. And what I'm saying is, man, you just don't really realize the fruits of homeschooling until you get into it. You really don't. Your kids will be influencers instead of being influenced. Do you know how powerful that is in Satan's world? Think about that. Your kids are taking Jesus Christ out into the world, and they're living like that. Now, I'm not saying my sons are just holy, you know, and are perfect and stuff, because they don't pray like they should. That's what it is, though. You know, they don't pray like they should, and they don't do what they're supposed to do all the time. But my point, what I'm saying is they have we as their parents gave them the foundation is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. They do stupid stuff too. I can tell you, you know, they had to get that little bus whoop. But they do stupid stuff. But what I'm saying is they had the foundation to grow up into good young men. And my middle child, Solomon, too. And my daughter, Lauren. Because we all rubbed off on the other two that are still around in the family.
Marcus and Solomon.
Marcus and Lauren. You know, and then their husband and their wife and our grandkids, you know. Mm-hmm. And so this is what you got to be. When you homeschool your child, you're building leaders. You really are. You're building leaders of this country, and you really are. You think about it. All your kids want to be a doctor. All your kids want to be entrepreneurs. All your kids want to be salespeople. All your kids want to be engineers or whatever. They want to really contribute to the side. Or your kids want to start a ministry, right? Think about how powerful that is. If they go to these schools, these private schools, these public schools, they ain't gonna want none of that stuff. They really ain't. They're not gonna have it inside of them. Because they got too many other distractions and stuff, right?
Not only that, they may not have the confidence to explore their interests. And, you know, my kids and me, you know, I didn't know I had any talents. I didn't think I had a talent. And, you know, and I saw my kids and I try and get them involved in stuff and they just didn't seem to have talents, just like their mother. But they do have talents, and their mother does have a talent. And so I'm a people person, and you know, I didn't know that there were things that a people person could do. I have a son that's a people person, my son Solomon. My son Jericho, he's a lot like his dad. I mean, they like people, of course, but they're not people like me and my son Solomon are. And so when you're able to explore your talents, you can kind of feed into those talents and learn more about, you know, your place in the world.
Another thing too, like Jericho and Solomon's whole life, I would say, look, man, y'all need to start thinking about what y'all want to do with y'all's life. You know, they want to be like Jericho wanted to be a football player, but I said, okay, I don't care about you want to be a football player, but dude, you need to have a backup plan. And that's what he started working on. Now he's a real estate agent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My point of what I'm saying is, man, I don't care what your kids want to be, because everybody wants to be a superstar or something, right? But the real world is to build a great family. And you gotta give your kids the real test of a man is to build a great family and marriage.
Right. And the thing that we instilled in our youngest two kids, because we didn't know any better with our other children, is that the most important thing is, your vocation. You're going to be a priest? Is your vocation a priesthood, or is it the married life? And if it's the married life, well, you better figure out how you're going to keep a roof over that woman's head, because...
And dude, hey, I'm telling y'all, them two, and then it rubbed off, and then my son Marcus, because he stayed with us for 10 years after he graduated from school. So all three of them, they're some wanting to get married fools.
Well, you gotta put her in a house,
right? And so they like, man, I have never seen three kids that want to get married as bad as these three. And my daughter Lauren too. I take that back. I never seen 4 kids that want to get married as bad as these two. And there's another one of my other friends has a daughter, and she's the 5th one. Them 5 kids. I've never seen one to get married.
They're not shy about wanting to get married.
They don't tell
say,
you.
"Oh, I don't need no husband."
Right.
No,
they tell you up front, look, I'm trying to get married. Like my 2 sons are out right now, 19, 20 years old. You know what they doing? They at work. They trying to make some money so they can get them a wife. Because you know why? That's what I taught them. I said, look, man, you got 2 options. You're going to be a priest or you're going to be married. Which one you going to do? Ain't no such thing as being single. That's selfish. Single life is selfish. It's a go nowhere, lead nowhere type of thing. Plus, how you going to get to heaven if you just about yourself? You can't get to heaven by yourself. Okay, so I said, look, you got 2 choices. Your vocation, like my wife just said, you're either going to be a priest, religious, a deacon. You're going to be in a religious life. You're going to be a priest. Or what? Are you going to be married? So they, we let them do the little, go around and see if they want to be a priest. They went to these little seminaries. We don't retreats to be a priest. They wasn't called to do that, and we pushed it too, because everybody wants their son to be a priest. It's kind of being, kind of be a little selfish, ain't it?
Well, it's a little prideful.
A little pride in it. I don't care. That's the bar.
A little Catholic pride.
That's the bar. I don't care. But anyway, they decided they want to be married. So I said, okay, if you want to be married, you got to start laying the foundation, right? Either you're going to go to college, you're going to go to the military, or you're going to be getting a job. You're going to get a vocation, not a vocation, what's it called? A trade. Mm-hmm. So any one of those 3 things are awesome. Any one of those 3 things are awesome. You're a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. You could be a heating and cooling dude. You could be a machinist, a weldist, or you could be a salesperson, or entrepreneur, or a real estate agent, something like that. And so they chose, my son Solomon got accepted into Indiana State to go to this darn physical therapy program, because that's what he wanted to do. And me and my wife, we look at it like this. I'm not trying to force you to do nothing. You're going to do something. But you ain't, like my son Solomon, got accepted to be in the Air Force. He went one day, he said, I want to go to Air Force like my daddy. Okay, dude, go on to go to Air Force. The boy goes through all this stuff, gets accepted to be in the military. You know how hard it is to get accepted in the military, to be in the Air Force? You know how hard that is? He got accepted to the Air Force, and all of a sudden now he don't want to go. He want to be a salesman. Okay, whatever, dude. You just do something, is all I'm saying. You ain't going to be living here for the rest of your life. I'm telling you that right now.
No, you ain't going to be a basement dweller.
Right. But once your career gets started, you ain't going to be paying rent. Like I told my son, he got this real estate job. I said, okay, you got 2 months, and you're going to pay some rent, because you ain't going to be living here for free. We don't play that, because you'll never leave. If you don't charge the kids rent, they ain't going to never leave, man.
Well, sometimes even if you do.
Even if you do charge the rent, they ain't going to leave. So that's what I'm saying.
You got to charge rent. That's important.
You got to charge rent once they get on their feet. Like I give them 2 years.
It doesn't matter how much it is. I mean, if you charge them $100 a month, you got to make them accountable for their adulthood.
That's right. But the other thing is, real quick before we cut off for the day, we're gonna probably do a part 2 to this, because man, we can go through a lot. We went through a lot of fun stuff. But other thing is, how people are also worried about can homeschooling hurt your kids' academic progression. So I'll be completely honest on that one. So one of the reasons that we sent the kids. There's two reasons we started sending the boys. We sent Jericho to Bishop Chatard because his mother was doing the homeschooling, and then I was helping, and we was doing our little thing. But then it got to a point where it's like okay, do we really want to homeschool through high school? It's a little bit more complicated, and they could do it. But they want to play football. They want to be in sports. They want to kind of go into other things prepare. So we said, okay, we've heard about the horror stories of if you're going to homeschool your kid through grade school, you need to homeschool them through high school too. Well, that was the only thing that made me a little nervous. Like, okay, if I put them into the high school and they never been in that environment before, it's going to be a little worried. But guess what? Then we start thinking, well, our boys been around all kind of kids their whole life anyway. Inner city kids, rich kids, middle class kids, all kind of kids. So it doesn't even matter. So they want to play football. You really couldn't play if you're gonna play football two places in the school system or homeschooling system. And the homeschool system, it wasn't that good, and the boys kind of wanted to go to they were at that time they wanted to play in college. Jericho said, "Oh, we are talking about me." Yes, son, we are talking about you today. You didn't even know it, did you?
You should come on the show.
Yeah, you should come on the show and talk about your homeschooling. But anyway,
well, no.
Right. So then we what we did is called the Newman. What's it called?
The Cardinal Newman Society.
Yeah. So basically, we didn't know what we had to be careful of where we sent the boys. Like we like the high school, so we did research. So there's a thing called the Cardinal Newman Society. So the Cardinal Newman Society, it's a society that goes throughout the country, and they rate all the Catholic schools on their validity in theology, whatever they do. Are they teaching the faith? Are they real Catholic? Or are they just faking like they're Catholic? Because believe it or not, Catholics have a certain standard in the faith that we're supposed. Theology is very important to us. So if some schools, they get away from that because they're trying to bring in all these people that really ain't trying to be the faith. They're just trying to get money. But some schools are rated really high in the Newman Society because they go to mass, they go to adoration, they go to confession, they teach theology in the school, and all that kind of stuff. So Bishop Chatard, out of the 4 high schools in Indianapolis, it's more than 4, but it's out of the
4 Catholic high schools, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Out of the 4 Catholic high schools in Indianapolis, Cardinal Newman Society was the only one. Bishop Chatard was the only one on the Cardinal Newman Society. So the boys could have went to anywhere and played football and probably started, but they went to the toughest one, which is Chatard. And so they went there. And so they spent their whole 4 years at Chatard. And when they first started, they got tested, and they tested below the freshman thing. And so what they did was they knew how to read and everything, but they weren't used to taking tests. Homeschooling is a different animal, and so the boys weren't used to that. So they went to freshman test and they didn't do good. But guess what? The school entered them into a rehabilitation program for like a half a semester or a semester, and then after that they were in regular 9th grade, and boom. They took off. Like I told y'all last week, they graduated with B's and high B's and stuff as a grade point at 3.5 or something. I forgot what it was in Chatard. So my point of it is your kids, if you send them to high school after you homeschool for 13 years, whatever, they might have some adjustment problems. But if you're patient, they will catch on. Another problem that I don't like, although it happened, is the boys, like they say, they were kind of in, because Jericho went by itself because Solomon was in the 8th grade, and then Jericho was in the 9th grade. So Jericho went to high school by itself, and of course he was a little influenced by the environment because it was so exciting, and it was so he'd come home to like, oh, mom and daddy, oh, this is that, and he said, look, boy, you remember what you are. You were Jacobs. Don't be going there acting a fool and stuff. Okay, Dad, but he was, the culture it's exciting. It's a brand new high school. He never been around all those kids all day like that, but guess what? The second semester, he calmed down, he got it together, and again, then the next year Solomon came, and guess what? They did the same thing they did during the football stuff. They started influencing the whole damn school. Crazy stuff. It's weird, dude. I'm just telling you. Them kids are crazy. But that's what I want you to know, man. That's kind of like the basics of homeschooling that we went over today. And we would probably do another one. But I just want y'all all to know that you have a good, if you homeschool your kids, you will not regret it. What do you think, babe, before we go out?
I do regret sending kids to high school. I
Yeah.
I mean, Bishop Chatard was rated high by the Cardinal Newman Society because they had weekly mass and adoration and confession. But I never went to a school mass because, well, I won't go into that, but I never did because I knew if I did, I'd drag them right out of that stupid school and they'd be here with me.
Yeah. So, well, I hope
It wasn't all bad.
So I hope today we're gonna end today, but I hope that y'all got a little bit out of what we talked about today, and we're gonna do another one probably next month, and get more detailed and have more resources for you and stuff. But we wanted to today, I just kind of wanted to have you guys go over some stuff and get the basics of the benefits, really the benefits of homeschooling, and to get over the dumb myths. And they're really all the myths. They don't make no sense.
You want to have a good relationship with your children, homeschool them.
Yes, if you want to have a good relationship with your children, homeschool them. You will not regret it. They will be closer to you. They'll be more respectful and loving. They will go out to the world and be leaders. They will go out and add to the society. You will see, man. Them kids, they'll have a good work ethic because you're going to teach them how to have a good work ethic because they're going to be around you all the time. They're going to know they're going to be very mature, and that's just the way it is. And if you as a father push that, you will see, you will be so glad you did that, and your kids will make you proud. What you think? One last thing for you go, babe.
If you love your children, use homeschool.
Bam. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. All right, I can have my microphone back. So, thank you again for listening in to the show. And believe it or not, I know it was a little bit unorthodox, but it's really not. Remember, marriage hits all facets, and homeschooling and the school your child goes to and all that stuff is very important in the fabric of your marriage and your family. I can't attest to it not. And once you get in the homeschool world, you will learn all this beautiful stuff. Just like when you get in the Catholic world, you're going to learn all this beautiful stuff about the faith that you never even thought existed. And this is what we try to do. I try to bring to you guys all the time, these new experiences to help you journey through your life, to help you understand the real meaning of life and what we're supposed to be doing and how to keep your family. Because in the end, again, it's about God, your wife, and your children, and then everything else after that. And if you can come together with you and your husband or you and your wife, you guys come together on this page right here, you will not regret it. Even if you send your kid, if you just try it out. I would say try homeschooling out for a semester or a year. Because remember, you got to remember, man, kindergarten through 8th grade don't even count in college standings or nothing. So you can experiment and do it all you want. But that's the great thing I forgot to mention that we're going to talk about more next time is, your wife, your kid from kindergarten through 8th grade doesn't mean nothing. The grades don't even count once you get to high school. You start all over again. So you can experiment with homeschooling for a year or two and see if you guys can make it work. And then if you can't make it work, then you can always go back to sending your kid to a private school or to a Catholic school or to a township school or to an inner city school. So with that being said, we're going to end today, as we always do, with a quote from Pope Benedict XVI, which states, "Society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. So go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is upon you. Fast," I said, "pray," I said, "prepare for battle." Thank you for listening in today. If what you heard helped you in any way and you would like more personal attention, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior marriage coaching. And remember to join the Catholic Alpha Radical Live podcast as a caller or listener every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. To join as a caller, dial area code 313-RADICAL. To join as a listener or view the live stream, visit the Catholic Alpha Radical Live Facebook page or visit CatholicAlpha.com for Catholic marriage help that actually works. Bam.